John Collins and the remaining 3 years, about $76 million left on his contract, has finally been traded from the Atlanta Hawks to the Utah Jazz. Atlanta will be receiving Rudy Gay and a second-round pick. We shall see if Rudy ever suits up for the Hawks. Obviously, for Atlanta, this was a complete salary dump of a deal. They create over $20 million in trade exception, which will allow the Hawks to play Saddiq Bey and obviously their young fella and Jalen Johnson a lot more under now second-year head coach Quinn Snyder, who came in midway through the year. He clear as day favorited those guys more than John. I go to a lot of Hawks games, so I have been kind of following this story for the last couple years. We knew John Collins' time in Atlanta would be coming to an end. The only question was, when would he get traded? Would it be a year ago, this trade deadline, this offseason? He was going to get traded at some point. At some point in the last couple years, and this obviously goes back to Nate McMillan, Atlanta just didn't know where to put John. And to me, I'll break his game down like this. He came into the league as this incredible athlete, and over the last couple years, I don't know if it's injuries, mental, whatever the case may be, John just didn't make enough of those highlight plays to justify keeping him on the court. And for as athletic as he was on offense, you never really seen those same signs on defense, even at his pinnacle. Atlanta would oftentimes have to go to, use guys like Clint Capella or others, Onyeka Okongwu being another one, to guard bigs around the NBA, including like a Giannis Antetokounmpo. That's one that comes to mind. Typically, you couldn't keep John on the floor. And I think all that kind of was a big piece to why John got traded. Nate wasn't a fan of him, and neither was Quinn towards the end of it. And that's why you see, John on the move. I saw Trae Young post a message. There have been reports about their relationship over the years. Give Trae credit. He kept it positive and said he had a lot of memories with John as he moves on to Utah now, which I don't know where he fits into what the Jazz are trying to do. I don't even know what the direction of Utah will be. A lot of us believed them to be in the Victor Wembanyama sweepstakes, but then they got off to a great start with what they had as a roster under Larry Marketing and Jordan Clarkson last year. I don't know what their direction is. I'm not so sure where John fits in, because that's a lot of money to pay a guy that's averaging about 15 and 8, and he can't extend the range to that three-point line just yet. Hopefully he works on his game. Ain't gonna be a lot to do in Utah. Leaving Atlanta, he should have much more time to focus on hoops in Salt Lake City. This is how I'll end this video. I'll say this. When I look at a guy like John Collins, there's a guy about to exit the NBA. He had the loudest retirement for a role player ever in Udonis Haslem. A lot of people look at Udonis as an OG in the locker room, a guy that's literally his job for the last decade for Pat Riley has been to make sure guys don't get in trouble and keep them under wraps, to be honest with you. But before that, Udonis was a really good role player. And you want to know why he was a really good piece to the Miami Heat puzzle? It was because he can knock down a mid-range jump shot. And when I look at John Collins, I saw so many times, and I'm talking about seeing this live and up close and personal. Some of the games were up close and personal. Some of them were a little further. But anywho, a lot of games I would watch John, and he'd be desperately trying to extend to that three-point line, and he just couldn't knock him down at a good enough clip. He could knock him down occasionally, but never good enough to justify keeping him on the court. Also, you got to think he's on the court with a high-volume three-point shooter in Trae Young. I mean, Trae can get up 12, 13, 14 threes a game. That's not unusual for him. And though he might struggle from a percentage perspective, he's still able to knock down 3, 4, 5 threes a game. Whether John, he might make one a game. And you look at that and just say, man, I wonder if he just would have extended his range from the paint to about 16 feet and not go as far as the three-point line, but master that mid-range jump shot. I wonder, are we looking at John as a different type of asset around the association and not being looked at as a trade target over the last couple years from Atlanta? Utah's been targeting him for quite some time. They finally get him in a trade that pretty much seemed to be a salary dump by the Hawks to the Utah Jazz. Let me know your comments and thoughts on this one. I'm out. Welcome to NBA offseason 2023. You're in great hands with Hoops FERRO. There's no network behind me. There's no budget behind me. Just straight grind and hoops talk. If you don't want to miss a beat this offseason from trades, free agent signings, and draft talk, make sure you subscribe to this channel. Let's run these numbers up. It's free $99 to show me that you support the grind. Let's go.